all the business owners are talking about how great AI is and how it's going to make them more efficient and eliminate roles. And then you just watch the news. They announce they're going to cut 20% of the jobs. And everyone's talking about this. And what I can't figure out, and maybe you have an opinion on this, is when nobody has to work anymore, who are they selling products to?
I mean, I was at 21. I remember in college, and to get out of college, I was 21. I was like, dude, okay, it's time to go hit it. Yep. It's time to go make money. It's time to go figure this out. It's time to work.
And that's had a job. Someone came in from the church and took me to lunch, basically said after a handful of meetings, God told me to hire you. I was 21 at the time. I remember saying, God didn't tell me anything, but I absolutely hate my job. I'm in.
If you look at the competition, some people get hyper focused on the competition. And what happens is you can't control the competition.
Yeah.
You can't control what they do or how they do it, but you can control what you do and what you guys are doing. So I always like, hey man, get focused in what you do. Yep. It's your business and make it better. Hey, welcome to the Kingdom Method. We're here today with Gus Antos. Unfortunately, Jeff got sick, so he's not able to be here with us today, but Gus and I are going to try to power through and see what happens here.
Jeff's kind of like the babysitter, isn't he?
Yeah, he makes sure that we don't go 2 hours and stuff. So this could be bad.
This could be really good or really bad. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, but no, Jeff's really good at this. So yeah, guys, if y'all remember to like kind of, comment and share this, and if you like what you see or want to know something else, like please do that. We're going to talk about, Gus's journey through home services and his like Christian version of that and how he lives his faith out. But we're also going to talk about something that I think is really important, which is are the KPIs. Like, so many of these guys that I saw that were presidents, we didn't have the availability to this level of data in the history of home services.
Yep.
And now we can literally live see, is our call center person not closing at the right level? And some of these guys are just diving down into this just sea of data.
Yep.
And what I found out is they were spending so many hours doing this, like, well, what are you doing about the data?
Yep.
So we kind of want to, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about KPIs later and kind of like, hey, what are the key things? Because it's so funny. People talk about KPIs and they have 20 of them. I go, well, is it key?
I have some hot sports opinions on that. So that should be a fun
Okay.
Fun
So
topic.
that we'll end with that. So you guys get some actual business, something that you can take home and put in your business today, which I hope is the front part of the story as well, which is us talking about, Gus's journey and what he did in home services, which is really incredible. But Jeff always goes, oh yeah, we got the great Jimmy Dale. And I'm like, dude, I think I paid him so long, he still kisses my butt a little bit, but I am serious, Gus and and I think we'll tell part of our story too about, our relationship and how that happened. Cause it's really weird.
Yep.
I think in a way, or people feel like it is, we don't, but people do feel like that. So, but we were talking earlier before we started about AI and, and it's just really about the whole, like not just in our home service world, but like kind of in the world in general. And I mean, kind of share some of the things that we were just talking about, like,
Yeah. So we were talking, well, thank you for having me. And, you've made it in life when you have a podcast. And so Jimmy's always been a little bit further down the road than me. So of course you have your own podcast and
you were supposed to be on it, but you were too busy. So.
I know, but doing one with you, I'm like, I don't know what we talk about, but then I realized it's you. And so we're definitely going to talk. So, we were talking before and I have a question for everyone watching. No one can answer it yet. All the business owners are talking about how great AI is and how it's going to make them more efficient and eliminate roles. And then you just watch the news, like I can't remember which publicly traded it's Oracle or I don't know who it is. They announced they're going to cut 20% of the jobs. Seems like a bad thing. Their stock price goes up.
Yeah.
And everyone's talking about this. And what I can't figure out, and maybe you have an opinion on this, is when nobody has to work anymore, then what are these businesses, who are they selling products to? And so because we're in the trades, you hear about, the trades, they can't be replaced. It's kind of recession proof and AI proof. And my thing is like, well, you guys do realize there's people that live in these homes that have to have jobs to pay us for those things.
Yeah.
And no one has the answer for that. They're like, and I know people are thinking about it. I know it's
Yeah.
like little Gus in Heath, Texas isn't the first person that thought about this, but no one's talking about it. It's just, it makes you more efficient. You eliminate jobs and everything's going to be
You
great.
think everybody's just scared to talk about it because it's like there's this part of it that's you feel like is inevitable, and then you're like, well, I don't want to think about it.
Right.
It's like, hey, let's not read Revelation.
No, it's not
I mean,
happening.
that's the
It's
end of
not
the world.
happening.
I don't like that one.
That's not happening.
You know, so I think that's part of, you know, and I really be honest, like, I mean, my opinion about it. I mean, you know, when you start, like literally they're talking about, hey, we're going to knock out 40% of the call center, which you 110% can do.
Yeah.
But, you know, the reason that my son got involved in what he does with the schedule bot thing, I mean, he left college at one of the best colleges in the nation, one of the smartest kids ever, and he leaves college and they're like, where 8 months prior, boy, everybody wanted him. Everybody was calling me going, hey, dude, when's he get out? When's he get out? Then all of a sudden, mass layoff at Google because of the AI. It was just the inception of, hey, somebody beat us to the AI game and I'm mad and we're going to see how productive you guys are. But they just, and realize they're not going to need as many people.
Yeah.
I mean, right now he's using 5 AI agents. Like, and so instead of having actual developers, he's got 5 agents. So he had a guy that was a developer and he was, you know, pretty good, but he goes, man, I'm having to correct all of his stuff and I'm having to do all these things. And he went to really good school. He's got 5 agents and he goes, look, I'm doing like 5 people worth of work, more than that, probably 8 people worth of work. And he goes, all I'm doing is project manager. I barely have to correct it and I just have to tie it in. So it's like this crazy thing that even in it's like all the computer guys that made this, it's kind of cannibalizing. They're eating themselves alive here. And you're like going, oh dang. I
should have rolled this out a little slower.
I thought it was going to be other people's jobs, not mine. And so, but I think that is what's interesting is, I mean, this feels like we're being really scary here, but I go, what does the world look like when 50% of the population doesn't work?
Yeah, I'm certain it's somewhere in Revelations. It doesn't say AI, but this has to be like woven there because just watching what's happening, it's like I'm not like a naysayer at all. I'm not like fear-based or anything. But I'm like, everyone fast forwards like 5 or 7 years, it kind of feels like the world is going to be completely upside down and different. To the point, I mean, I'm watching this thing about how they're, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, there's going to be these AI things that are just going to run governments. That's going to tell them how to solve the problems because it's studied 5,000 years of history and it's going to do all. And then I'm like, and what are these people? Who is doing something at this point? Like, I cannot figure it out.
It's like,
and the worst part is like you said, you actually believe. Because you watch some of this stuff, I'm like, I actually do believe it can do that.
Oh, yeah.
And like, that's the worst part.
And it's going to go, hey, look, it can project it. What if it looked in the future and predicted the future and said, oh, hey, America has all the resources and everything else, and they have the most capability of AI so that me as AI, I can flourish.
Right.
Let's go bomb everyone else and take their stuff. I mean, it's and then when is the human element completely eliminated?
So I was at this thing and they were talking about, and they were being thoughtful about it. And I think this goes to all the business owners. I don't know enough about it, but I know there's different applications that don't have all the guardrails set up. And they were talking about they said, we're not trying to figure out what AI can do. But for a business like ours, which they're in a software business, all we're trying to figure out is tell it what not to do. Uh-huh. And they gave like 5 examples. I mean, they kind of were really funny. It was, someone in the HR department at some big company, you guys probably know the name of it, was like, we're going to do a company-wide team building thing where we bring synergy. And so they got like one of the big things and overlaid it. And like overnight, it got everyone's payroll files and passwords and sent it to everybody in the company. Imagine coming back in the next morning and be like, oh, shoot.
Gus makes more than I do. I want a raise.
And then there was another one where it was like this customer integration thing and it hard deleted every single customer file and database
in their data.
And it ever had, because it was going to build it. One of the things is we want to build it back, but they didn't tell it. So apparently, and I know all the people watching this are like, yeah, no kidding, Gus. I'm a late adapter. I think Jimmy knows that about me. Like, I'm a late adapter. I let everybody else figure it out, and then I do it. I don't think we have the privilege of that in this AI thing. But I was sitting there watching and then listening, and that what they were saying to the business owners is, when you implement this stuff in your business, make sure you're using companies and make sure you don't just give your team free license, because if you don't set up like the guardrails inside of it, man, it could like take your entire customer base and just put it out on the web thinking it's doing a good job. Yep. Like, and I mean, it is scary. Like,
well, what's funny about you're talking about AI. We actually had an employee that was doing payroll, and she sent all the paychecks out, and everybody saw what everybody made. And I was like, okay, that was a hard day at work when I came in that next day, but that was an actual person that did that. And we've
had that, and in the home service industry, which we're in, there is like this witch hunt, which is actually pretty funny too. It's like, the AI voice agent, somebody called in and the computer messed up and did it. I'm like, okay, if we're going to do that, we also need to talk about the humans and some of the stuff that they do. I mean, we live, here in DFW. I'll never forget. I was listening to this call and a customer called in and was like, hey, do you guys replace like electrical panels? And that's like a great job. And our call taker was like, let me put you on hold. You listen to this on a Friday.
The answer is yes.
Yeah. Like I trailed everyone. Whatever someone says, you just say yes. And she's like, I don't know. Hold on. So puts them on hold. She comes back and goes, we replace electrical panels. And then the customer goes, do you service Plano, Texas? And the girl goes, let me put you on hold. And then Plano is like a great area. It's like 1 mile from our shop. And this sweet girl had just moved from out of town. She didn't know all these things, but I'm just saying, like, humans mess up a lot too.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's exactly what happens. So when my son and Jeff Light, recreate, when they're onboarding people, they'll catch because then they listen to every single AI call, making sure it's right, making sure it does things, but it may pause.
Yeah.
Like for instance, a weird one was like the other person doesn't talk.
Yeah.
Like I'm like over there going, oh yeah, my address is da-da-da. And then I just stop.
Yeah.
And I don't say another word. I don't know if I go on mute or they hit their face hit mute, but they don't say anything. Well, the AI would just sit there.
Yeah.
And so what happens is eventually at 60 seconds, it times itself out because it's charging you a per minute fee. And so it times itself out. And then people are like, well, literally he had to put a program in there that said, hey, are you still there?
Yeah.
So it is. But what I found is these guys, I go, and I literally told him, I said, man, you ought to have him call me and let me talk to him.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what I'd say is like, I want you to listen to all your other phone calls with that same, because if you did that, do you know how good your call center would be? Because our call center was really good.
Yeah.
And we listened to it like that. It was like, dude, it needs to be exactly like this. And so I was really determined. And that's what happens is they just let the call center go.
Yeah.
The funniest thing was there was a guy named Mayo. I don't know if this is way back in the 90s and the 1900s. Yeah. And so this guy did flat rate books and he was out of San Diego. And so he would go and dude, he was a mess, but he would go up there. He was kind of doing the first thing of like flat rate pricing, giving options, doing all those things. So he had this whole little program that you could be in home services way back in the mid late 90s. Well, what happened was he would get someone's phone and he goes, hey, who has a good call center here? And I'm telling you, it was just like this.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, like 3 people. He goes, hey, give me your phone. Here, let me see. And he go, what's your number? And he called the number. And then he would talk on the phone. And he would get that person to tell us to call another company or go to Home Depot every single time. And the dude who like raised his hand now, there's like 100 people in there. He's completely embarrassed. But I did say, I go, hey, that's not going to happen to us. I go, we're gonna make sure that doesn't happen. But that's one of the things is
I say we call Baker Brothers right now.
Well, hey, I'm not there anymore. Time out. I'm not there anymore. It could be I'm kidding. But no,
if you're going to call one of our, I'll just get up and leave.
Yeah,
I can't sit through it.
Well,
podcast over.
It's so funny. Like when I listen, like we'll be in there in a marketing thing, and they'll say something. Go, hey, well, hit that. Let's listen to the call, and we'll listen to about 4 of them, and then I'll call the call center manager. And go, hey. I mean, what's going on over there? I mean, if we just forgot all the blocking and tackling, but I think that's why, I'll be honest, the call center piece is so attractive because it's high turnover. It's a hard job, like to be honest. I mean, and then with you and us, we have these current customers. So you kind of forget to tell people how to use us. And then what would happen is we had a lady that was 7 years and our call center manager was great. And she just goes, I just had to train somebody that's been here 7 years how to do the very basic thing that we tell people to do. So it's a difficult. So I think it's a thing that when it comes in, you're like, okay, this is a really good solution.
I do have a really Can I share like a life-saving practical thing for a business owner?
Yeah.
If you're in the home services or really any customer service thing, and you have a way of checking in on like a small detail, like call center.
Yep.
For us, we could always just listen to the recorded phone call. It's happened like after the fact. My life-saving tip is, under no circumstance ever listen to it on like a Friday afternoon past like noon.
Unless you don't want to run your weekend and go,
all weekend you're like, they don't know we do plumbing. They don't know we do electrical work. Like, they told a customer that spent like $30,000 with us, call Baker Brothers. They do plumbing. Like, you will think about it all, because any good business owner ends up going, that's frustrating. But if that's happening, Lord knows what else is. And then you just think about it like all weekend. You can't wait to get there. And so now, I mean, like, I put on Friday afternoon, like whenever I leave the office, I'm like, I won't answer my cell phone. I don't want to know. I don't want to look at emails. I'm just going to pretend like it's not happening.
I never read reviews on Friday.
Oh,
that was another
same one. Don't ever do that. Never.
Because then you're just thinking about all weekend. Yeah. That was a trick I used to do to guys like that were, that employee who kind of is always, he's good, they do their job well, but they're always like, I don't know, they're just not, they're kind of a little bit of cancer in the locker room, and you're always like, oh God, here they come. That guy, I would always like if I got onto him or said, hey, I need to talk to you, I'd always do it on Friday afternoon and say, hey, I need to talk to you at 7 a.m. on Monday. So they can stew the whole, because I was always like, I always told everybody, I told my kids this, said, hey, if you want to be that maniacal leader and you want to be like, freaking Bill Belichick, who's like really, stern and angry and win, great. But the moment you lose, everyone will abandon you and they'll let you go. So I did that to those guys, like the guys that were always like, being jerks. I'd go, oh, okay, well, hey, let's meet at 7. And it would be about something that wasn't even, they weren't even in trouble. It was just like, they were thinking, oh God, why does he want to talk to me at 7 a.m.? Oh gosh, what's going to happen?
I love that.
But so let's transition into, let's talk a little bit about your story, because I know, Gus and I are in Dallas. People typically know because we do a lot of advertising, and they usually know we're a pretty big company. But all over, the country, people may not know. But like, we both have built these businesses that are $100 million plus from like small beginnings. So kind of tell some of that story about what you remember and kind of, because some of these guys, are just starting out or they're getting going. Yep. And what we did initially in this was we kind of told the story of, hey, this is us from here to 5 million and 5 million to 10 million and 10 million to 20 and, things that happen. Yep. So what were some of the things that you just remember like for your journey? I think that,
I know you know this, and for people that know me, it's unnatural for me to talk about myself. And a lot of people take that as Gus is not very friendly. Yeah. I just naturally, a lot of times, keep to myself. In small circles, I don't. And so when someone asks me to tell it, I'm always like, oh, it's kind of cringy for me. But I will do my best here. So grew up originally from Kansas City, go Chiefs. It's the only good thing that's ever happened in Kansas City, so I have to say it, and it's over now. Thank God. It's over now.
But it was great.
I got to ride it for a little while here. Then family moved to DFW. I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian, went to college for a little bit, came back. Really the most important thing that ever happened professionally for me was I was in college. I came back one summer. I had grown up a believer in a faith-based household, great parents, started on third base as far as faith, and so very fortunate in that. And but I don't think I was living for God. And so someone asked me to go to church, came on a Wednesday night, they had an altar call, went down there, changed my entire life. I at that moment, I knew I was actually laying down my life. And so did that, and then all of a sudden, my heart just kind of changed and wanted to be involved in business. And like I said, that was probably the most important thing that ever happened, because after that was a series of events. I read in the Bible, seek ye first the kingdom and everything else should be added unto you. And I really, at that point, wanted to have a business that was faith-based. When I say faith-based, there's no such thing as, and we can stop off and talk on this at some point, there's no such thing as like a Christian company. Yeah. I love saying this at our company meetings. I mean, I get a standing ovation, as there's no such thing as Christian companies. there's faith-based leaders.
Yep.
And they have values, they do that. But if there was Christian companies, there would be at the pearly gates, all the milestone trucks would go into heaven and bakers would just go right to hell.
Hey,
I tell that joke all the time, and people like die laughing, and I'm always following up like, no, Jimmy and Baker Brothers are some of my favorite people. But
no wonder when all your guys come in, they expect to have horns and fangs and all that. Like,
and so, but I wanted to do that, and then long story short, I had a job. Someone came in from the church and took me to lunch. Basically said after a handful of meetings, God told me to hire you. I was 21 at the time. I remember saying, God didn't tell me anything, but I absolutely hate my job. I'm in. And he had an electrical contracting business, a man of God. And we ended up shutting that down after about 6 months and then starting a new company together and called Milestone. And, we started with kind of like what you hear, rubbing pennies together. It was 1 or 2 trucks and a handful of team members.
I got a funny story because electricians historically make fun of plumbers. All the time.
Yep.
And so I remember being at jobs and a guy would come from 300 yards away across the steel walking. I'm like, what's this guy want? So where are these trench digging or whatever? And he'd come over to be an electrician and start telling electrical jokes, whatever. And I remember, so Mark Robinson's his partner who I've known, I guess a little about the same time as Gus. But I told Mark, I go, you know what your secret gift is? And he was like, well, what do you think it is? I go, picking partnerships.
Yeah.
I mean, you took Gus, who was a guy that went to church with you at 21 years. I mean, I think God did tell him because I'm just trying to tell you, 21 years old and goes, hey, this kid's pretty smart. And he's like, man, I need some help. And then grabs you up and then goes and takes you lunch at 20. I mean, most people, we even try not to hire people under 25, to be honest, because we're like, hey, you still got your bad case of the dumbass. Like, let's just wait for you to get over that. Then we'll talk. But the real thing is that he picked you, brought you in, y'all started working together. And Mark, Mark's story, I know I knew it was funny. A guy that, one of my best friends in high school, was Mark's apprentice. I mean, his apprentice, and his name's Danny Murray. Yep. And Danny was his apprentice. And so Mark worked for a big electrical firm, did that thing where he was a tech, man, got good, saved up some money, started his own thing, did like most of the techs do, struggled with the business side of it, struggled with all that stuff. And then to come along and find a 21-year-old kid to go, hey, you know what? That takes a certain amount of just faith on its own. Yeah. He prayed about it and that came to his mind. Yeah. But then I was like, dude, you're great at picking teams. You're great at picking partnerships, picking the guy that you need to be on your team. And he was like, Jimmy Dye, I think you're right, man. I do. I am really good at that. I go, you're also really, you're not very proud. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, but he's a great dude, really God-fearing man.
He would tell you, he's one of my favorite human beings in the world. He would tell you he's not great, but he prays a lot. And the older I get, the more I know that's true. Yeah. And so,
but he's like, but he does, it's funny. I used to and then, so the whole electrician plumber joke, Gus, Gus, I go, man, you're the first electrician I met that hasn't started telling me jokes. He goes, well, Jimmy, I'm not an electrician. Yeah. And the minute I met your partner, Mark goes, he starts in on the joke. Hey, you know what? You need 3 things you know about plumbing. I'm like, what? He goes, crap rolls downhill, paydays on Friday, and don't chew your fingernails. Yeah. I'm like, so all you electricians, I know everybody knows that. All the plumbers know that. And I literally was sitting there, and I remember Gus had to come, and he went there were 4 or 5. Yeah. And Gus came, okay, Mark. And he grabbed me, literally walked me off and saved me. But no, Mark's a great guy. And so that's really, I think, what, and Gus, like he says, doesn't like to talk about himself much, but I always encourage him to tell that story because it really is some people come into y'all's facility and they look around and it's like Disney World. Yeah. And they're just like, oh my gosh. And they can't ever picture themselves ever getting to that level, which I'll be honest, I don't know about you, but I never pictured myself. I thought I was going to work for Dad for 2 years. Yeah. I literally was like, dude, my dad had 2 trucks. And I go, man, I'm going to work here 2 years. Yeah. Bro, I'm out. And then I'm going to go do my own thing. And man, that was 33 years ago. But it's kind of crazy that, I never in a million years, I thought, dude, if we get to 20 trucks, we'll be the best thing that's ever existed in the world.
Yeah.
But
I think an interesting thing about that is, rewinding to that time in life, people were like, what were your goals? I was like, my goal at that time, honestly, I thought I wanted to be a pastor. And then beyond that, I was like, I had like dreams, but they just kind of seemed ridiculous because I didn't have like a chart or a path and so my entire goal was to make $80,000 a year, not assigning amount of money to success, but that was about what the most my parents had ever made. And I was like, that seemed like a good living, and we would just see what happened after that. It was never, and so it's a curious thing about, we all hear the level 5 leaders type thing, but something you will notice, I think, is a lot of the time to what you said, I know your story. I know a lot of other people like that. It was never, I'm going to start this and then I'm going to build this and then this is going to happen and that's going to happen. It just you wake up every day. The Bible talks about it a lot. Do today unto the Lord, right? And today. And we don't know what tomorrow has. And it's actually, the world has a lot of different opinions on that, but we're kind of called to live today. And we don't know what tomorrow
I think
has.
it's the biggest mistake. Like my wife has anxiety and my daughter and all that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Y'all are living in the future.
Yeah.
Because you're fearful of what's going to happen. Yeah. Like in a minute or 2 minutes or 10 minutes, an hour or tomorrow. I said, and then there's the people who live in the past that just go, oh man, I remember when I used to be this and used to be that. And I think that's really why
the past is a lot of unforgiveness.
Yes.
And the future is a lot of fear. And so when we can find our place living kind of in that moment, but one of the fun, I remember this little story, I don't know how long we'd had the business. And I went over to this guy's house and to meet him real quick or whatever. And his daughter runs out, and our TV had been on our company had been like on TV, and so she could like sing the jingle. Daughter comes out, she's like 13, and the dad goes back, and I'm just standing there, and she goes, "Are you a millionaire?" And literally, she could have asked me anything in the world, I would have had a good answer for her. She goes, "Are you a millionaire?" And I go, I don't know. I've never thought about that. And she goes, "What do you mean?" I go, I just have never, and I had never thought about it. We were about 10 years in, and by the way that the world measures us at that point, the answer was yes. And I think I try to talk to my kids and our business leaders. I was like, when you're doing the deal, man, you're not looking up trying to figure out where you're at. You're in the trench. You're doing it. You're going as fast as you can. We can peek up and see how far we've gone all like later. But when you're fighting the fight, it's not the time to like figure out like measure. Well, I killed more people than they did in 1,000 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah, I think part of the reason, because that's the mentality that I think, and we had this conversation long time ago. When I just talked about, man, it's like when you hit a grounder, you just run, you look straight ahead and you run as fast as you can. And I go, and if every day you're working as hard as you can, you're trying to make your company better, because people look at the competition, which is like looking at the grounder, and you lose 10% of your speed. Yep. So the idea, that's what the coach never told you, just don't look. Hit a grounder, you just don't look. Well, you're a kid, you want to look. Especially when they tell you not to look, you really want to look. But if you had told me, hey, Jimmy,
what are they doing over there?
You're not going to be very fast. You're going to lose 10% of your speed. But if you look at the competition, some people get hyper focused on the competition. And what happens is, it's funny, you can't control the competition. Yeah. You can't control what they do or how they do it, but you can control what you do and what you guys are doing. So I was like, hey, man, get focused in what you do. Yep. It's your business and make it better. My daughter got out of school, and it was funny. She got out of college, and went to Texas Tech. So that's why we're Kansas City fans too, because Mahomes, I got to watch him all 4 years because they were the same age, and I got to watch him all 4 years. It was really cool. I didn't think he'd be as good as he is at the NFL, but he's
8 other teams didn't either.
He's incredible, dude. It's insane. Yeah. But what was funny is, so at the end of the day, she gets out of school. She goes, "Hey, Dad, what do I do? You look at what you did, man. You did so great." And I said, "Okay, so here's the deal, Madison. There were 3 things. I had an opportunity for 3 different things. Yeah. I picked the worst one. Yeah. And I go, by far. I go, and she goes, yeah, but look how great it turned out. Look at her out. Da, da, da. Yeah. I go, true, but I'm going to tell you, it's hard work.
Yeah.
The hard work is what got me there. I go, it was 70 hours a week. It was like coming in on Saturdays when I had to tell the softball, hey, I can't come because I got to work Saturday. It was all that stuff that working hard and being diligent about what I did. And I'll be honest, I had a big advantage. I think you did too, because, for all you young guys, at 21 years old, you were serious about going to work.
Yeah.
At 21 years old, I was serious about going to work. I was done with the parties and the club and hanging out the bar. I mean, I was at 21. I remember in college, and to get out of college, I was 21. I was like, dude, okay, it's time to go hit it.
Yeah.
It's time to go make money. It's time to go figure this out. It's time to work hard.
And that's an interesting topic. And this is a little hack that I use that maybe will help. But I know your story. This is what I'll say is, what I'm about to say is a great predictor of what's going to happen, but it's not an absolute. And what I mean by that is, one of my first things, I remember talking to someone, I want to learn about them. I'll say, so tell me about when you grew up. What did they value in your house? I just want to hear what someone says. I want to hear what they'll say my parents said, and they'll tell you more than you probably need to know. And then that'll naturally lead into, so tell me about your first job. And I want to hear, if it's someone that I'm going to hire, I want to hear them say, oh my God, whenever I was 10, 11, 12, my parents made me do. And then I was 14 or 15, they made me. And what that tells me is, A, either the parents valued hard work, or B, they just had to work.
Yeah.
And I know both of us started work very early in life. Now, what I want to caveat that with is, I'll say that and someone will say, well, I played sports or I didn't do this. I didn't say it was the only determining factor. I just said it's a great one to hear, because if you think about it, go do this. Go find people in your network that you consider to be quote unquote successful. And we need that's a different podcast defining what success is. But go ask them the question, tell me about your first job. Almost every single one of them is going to say, when I was 13 or 14, or some level, they had responsibility. They were working towards something. And so to your point, at 21, I've been working that hard since I was 15. I know you had too. And I was like, by the time I was 22 and everyone else was like, oh man, I'm like, man, we're to the easy part. Yeah. I mean,
and one of the things too, that you're saying is that, because you're talking about hard work and how many guys did you know that were in our industry that were leaders? Like, we were just young pups kind of coming up, and they were like, hey, I was a pig farmer. Hey, I was like, I worked on a farm.
You used to always say, apparently if you're,
excuse me.
I remember you'd always go, if you're a pig farmer, apparently that's the meal ticket of life.
I was like,
because if I hear one more guy up on stage say I was a pig farmer.
Yeah, that was back in the SGI days.
Yeah.
They were like going, I go, are y'all just messing around? I mean, not all of y'all are. Did y'all just go to the pig farming, auction and start picking people up? But I will say, I think a culmination of what you just said and what I always say about when people go, well, hey, how do you hire your mid-level management leaders? How do you do this? And I'm like, dude, I'll tell you how I hire most of the people that work directly with me, especially. I said, dude, I just want people that want to win so bad that they'll throw up in their mouth a little bit if they think they're going to lose. So if you basically worked hard when you were younger and had that kind of environment and you have that kind of drive, dude, I think that's just like, it's hard for you to fail. Like, I mean, because people that want to win will figure it out, dude. They'll dig in and man, they'll go, okay, I'm not winning. This is messed up. I want to figure out how to win. And I think that's what another one after what is actually success that we probably should talk about is, how do you parent when you actually have a lot of money? That's one that I think is worth writing a book about, because my biggest fear is that my children would be like, because that's what happens, especially when you worked hard and did all that stuff. You don't want your kids to go through those things. So sometimes we kind of put a bubble around them. And I think living here in Rockwall, Heath, Texas, we got this bubble, right? Yeah. And we've seen some of our friends' kids that you're just like, man, that kid, I don't know what's going to happen with him.
Another just absolute crazy one on that subject is, if you go around and you ask people that you consider successful, you say, tell me some things that you believe made you who you are today? Experiences, not just the Bible, God, because that's always going to be at the center if it's a faith-based person, but say, give me some experience or life situation. They will rattle off some of the hardest childhood things you've ever heard.
Yeah.
And then the very people that they love the most in life, their kids, they will do everything they can to make sure the kid doesn't go through the very thing that they just said made them. I mean, it's a crazy thing. And I'm not saying I'm not saying I haven't done it. I'm just saying when you witness it happening, it's like, letting your kids have a hard time in life is hard, but it's probably one of the best things that we can ever do. And so
resilience, like them just to, fall down and get back up and dust off and go at it again. I mean, that's part of the whole idea is like, hey, I used to tell my son when he was playing football, I said, football, like not football, but sports that was really the Olympics. All that was really to keep the warriors in shape. It was just, hey, stuff for them to do that they would do in battle to keep them in shape, like back in Athens and all that stuff. And I said, so, I mean, what you need to look at this football thing is, okay, so if you're the 1 in 10,000 and I go, who do you, he goes, I want to be like Jason Witten. I go, okay, so you're either going to be like 6'4", you're going to jump like 36 inches in the air and run a 4.6, or you're not, and weigh like 230, 40, 50 pounds, whatever. I go, but you need to understand it's 1 in 10,000, but what you need to use this for is the way these sports and things that you're doing, it's life. It's like you practice, you fail, you overcome your failure. You
deal with the hard coach, you deal with the hard teammate. And. I mean,
and you just got to overcome, and you're going to get knocked down in one of the games. Like somebody's going to knock the junk out of you. You're going to fall on your butt, and then you're going to get up, and then you got to figure out, how do I knock that guy down more times than him? He did his first. Like they put him at linebacker and he was inside. Well, they walked him down. It was funny. And he's like, Dad, his first varsity game. And he's like, Dad, the guy across from me is 285. He's 205. And he goes, the guy across from me is 285. Yeah. The guy inside him is 296. The guy on the other side that'll flip every now and then, he's 275. He goes, I'm giving up almost 100 pounds to all these guys. And they go, and I literally just go, man, I guess you're going to have to figure it out, huh? I guess you're going to have to figure something out that game. And that's what I was always proud of him, is that he did that. So that's and my daughter's the same way. Yeah. So I think, we have to almost like make sure that they understand some of the things they're doing are that big, like, and let them understand, like, hey, you overcame this. Yeah. And, it's like Dean, your son Dean's playing golf. And I saw him out at a tournament and it was, I think you were out of town or something. And it was literally 43 degrees. I'm like, so Dean, if someone wins it, doesn't even say how good a golfer you are, or just like this dude who grind out anything. Yeah.
It's a funny thing. It's the watching the kids do stuff is, I think it teaches us a lot about our relationship with God, because if you ask me to trust God for myself, somehow I can figure that out. But when you ask God to take care of your child, but you feel so out of control. That's why a sick kid is like, it'll definitely, it's incredible that Paul had no kids or marriage and he knew God as good as he did, because I think both of those things are what brought me to my relationship with God and owning your own business. Like those three things, my partner, Mark, always says, God doesn't find you on the beach. He finds you in the storm. Yeah. So if you want to get close to God, careful what you ask for.
Yeah, exactly.
Get out there and start swimming.
I'll tell you, there's, what's kind of crazy about what you're saying about, it's just, I tell people all the time, when you have children, when they're about to have children, you go, your life's about to change. Because you're hanging out, you're going wherever you want. And then all of a sudden, like a baby comes, you're like, okay, it's going to change. It's going to change good. But that's just the thing about, what God did is like, would you give up your child for 5 people? Mm. Would you let someone like, kill your child for 5 people? Mm. You're like, no. For the entire, you'd be like, no. It wouldn't matter how many people. You're just like, there's no way. So, it always kind of hit for me, like, I can't even imagine that, and knowing and pre-knowing what they were going to go through. Yeah. If you watch Passion of the Christ, if you don't cry in that, I don't know what's wrong with you.
If at some point it crosses your mind that Jesus' mother was sitting there watching that happen. Oh, like that is just like in the middle of all that. Once you get your attention on that as a parent, and then obviously his father in heaven, but just the mom sitting there. My mom, I'm, a lot older. She still calls me, honey, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, Amanda said you had a cold. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be fine. It's good. But, it's funny. It's the kid thing is wasn't planning on talking about that today, but I think a lot. I think we all do. I think a lot about that. And it's funny if you talk to parents and you ask their advice. I've noticed that if Jimmy Dale likes where Jimmy Dale is in life, then one of his things that he subconsciously does is, well, I did this to get here, and I like where I'm at, so you should do the same thing so you can like where you're being. I'm not saying you did that at all. But you watch, as parents, it's easy to do. Hey, I got a job and worked 60 hours a week when I started to 14 or 15 years old. And it's funny, it doesn't say that I have two boys. It doesn't say they're created in my image. Yeah. They're created in his image, and they're wildly different. And obviously there's foundational principles and truths that work for everybody. But yeah.
Well, part of being I think a parent, and I know like we didn't plan on this, but part of being a parent though is, and I think it's funny, like we don't think anything about disciplining our child.
Yep.
But then we turn around at work.
Yep.
And we don't discipline the people that work for us that we care about and love. I mean, that's one of the things I told everybody. I go, man, I hung in with Baker Brothers forever. Because I really cared about all these people. I mean, that was the whole thing. And I wanted to like take care of those people. And that was, the whole purpose. Yeah. But I said, but it is a thing that, you do have to take your child and go, hey, like, I need to sit you down and talk, and we need to have conversations. That was one of the very first podcasts we were talking about. I was like, dude, it's okay to be a Christian and sometimes go in there with a stick and hit them in the head a little bit and go, hey guys, look, dude, you this is going to be detrimental to you. And I always joked around and told all these Fortune 500 guys that would come work for you, corporate guys. Yeah. And they come in my office and go, oh man, Gus, what a great shirt you have there. And I go, I wear this shirt every day. Yeah. Like I get kind of pissed about it. I go, hey, I just want to let you know something, dude. I hate people that kiss butt. Hey, if you want to hang out and go get beers, man, we go to Cowboy game, do all stuff, dude, I'll be your best friend. But if you don't do your job, I'll fire you. I just want you to be clear. And no amount of you coming and telling me how my shirt looks and hey, I've lost weight and all that stuff is ever going to change the fact of whether you work here or not. It's going to be your performance here. And what the other funny thing, and I don't know what you think about this, but people that are kind of a-holes that I don't care for at all. I can completely be okay with them working for me and winning. I don't care as long as they do their job and the customers love them and they love the people around them. And I don't want to ever go hang out with them a bit. I am 110% cool with that. And I always laugh at people that aren't, and they go, "Well, I'm gonna." Well, this dude you like is over there buying stuff on Amazon while this other person's working hard and you love him, but you're going to let him sit there and just destroy your whole company from the inside. But you're not going to let this guy, because he's a butt, but does his job well, because I don't really care for him. I'm like, that's kind of funny.
That's, really the only job I've ever had is the one I'm doing, almost 25 years. And I would say the first 15, sadly to say almost 20, that was not something I was great at. Like, I would have radical candor in the sense of, I need you to do your job. I need you to do this. I would fire people. I had no problem with that. Working with someone that I actually really liked and cared for, and then telling them, no, you're just not good. I always struggled the most with someone that actually had the right values, that was actually working hard, but man, we were never just going to land. They were in the wrong position. And I never wanted to hurt their feelings. Like, I never wanted to be like, God, like, I just feel like I'm just like crushing their spirit. And that can turn into some really, really, really bad situations when you don't do that. And I look back and I've learned from that. And so now I maybe have gone too far in the other direction, because there's actually a couple of things I need to tell you right now.
Okay. Okay. We'll save that for after. But also, one of the things, just talking about that, Doug Knows that used to work for me. One of the things that he said that I thought was brilliant about that was, he goes, you always think about the time that the person who's not doing their job correctly, how much time they're wasting of yours and the companies. And it's always about, he goes, but, Jimmy, nobody ever thinks about like what we're doing to them. We're wasting their time. They have no chance at being successful at this company. So you guys out there, home service guys, it's really about like, for instance, you could be a home service plumber and be terrible. I mean, be horrible. Like, where you're like, dude, I don't like talking to people, and go in there and grunt at people. And it's, in fact, if you're too fast, they get mad. Like, hey, I paid you $350 and you got done in 15 minutes. I go, well, because he's a freaking master at what he does. But flip side, you let him go. He goes over to a new construction company, and 2 years later, he's like the superintendent and running the whole entire development or something. Yeah. You're like, so there's that part of us that we have to remember that it's not just about us and egocentric, and go, hey, dude, but I'm wasting their time too. And then it kind of helps you have that hard conversation. But man, I've had to tell people conversations like, you need to shower before you come to work. Yeah. Because when you shower before bed and you sleep and you're huge fat and you smell like, I can smell you before you hit the door. I go, dude, you got to either wear undershirts and switch your uniform out. I mean, but we're over there trying to figure out how you're not offensive walking in someone's house. Yeah. And I'd always preface it by, I'm not going to take any joy in anything I'm about to tell you. I'm only telling you this so that you can be good at what you do. At any point in time, you can tell me to shut up and you don't care, and that's fine. And they always let me finish. And they'd actually, that guy actually was like, yeah, that's a good idea. I probably should do that. And I go, and he did. And it changed his whole appearance.
It's, and this is called kingdom method. So we can talk about it on here. It's a glitch in our faith system. Belief system and understanding of God. Some of the times what I see us as leaders do, and like I said, I've done it, and I'm currently not doing it, but hopefully that doesn't start again, which is when you have someone, it could be a team member, that could also be a kid, it could be a relative, it could be, and what we do is they're not very good, or this isn't necessarily right, or this or that, and the next question is, but if I don't do this for them, or I don't take care of them, or if I fire them, what are they going to do? And I had a little situation like that. And God, I would say very rarely talks to me so clearly that I can be like,
this is the right path.
That I'm like, oh, I know that I know. I was on a walk and I verbally said out loud, well, what's going to happen if I do that? And I literally could feel him. So you think I need your help? Yeah. And I felt that big in that moment. The creator, I'm saying, oh, this person is dependent. You think this person's dependent on you? I created the universe, created you. Psalms 20, where everything is mine. And you think that I'm worried about what, maybe you need to do what you're supposed to do and be obedient so that I get to be a father to that in that situation, so they become dependent on me, and
we get so control. We control,
and it's all out of a good. Like you're not trying to do bad.
Yeah, I know. We're control. Like in a way, we're looking at all these things and we're controlling what happens in a way, or we feel like we're in control, which is funny. Yeah, and it's like I think it was maybe one of our Pastor Josh's podcast or whatever, but he was talking about it's like, have you ever had your kid work, and you're in the garden and you're like, oh yeah, get over your little Tonka toy. And you're over there like, moving the dirt around. I go, that's what we're doing. He goes like this, I can't remember who it was, but it came up somewhere. It was like, oh yeah, God lets us go in the corner of the garden and go, yeah, get your little Tonka toy and play around over there as I do everything and actually make things happen that are the strategy of what I'm trying to get done. And I think it always played itself out for me in mission trips. Yeah. We go on a mission trip and whatever the purpose of the mission, if it was to build a house, like, hey, we're supposed to build this sanctuary or alternate sanctuary or a home for the pastor, whatever. We go in there and do that. And what would happen is some side note thing would happen that would almost irritate us because it took us off our goal. And then we look back on this deal and go,
the side thing was
the whole reason we're there. Yeah. That was the whole reason we're there. Well, hey, let's talk about when we met, because then we can tell that story. Yeah. So do you remember, I remember
we were in Irving at the Sheridan something or other. Yeah. And it was for an award for Consumer's Best Choice. And Consumer Choice Award. Yeah. And y'all won't believe this, but I was kind of standing there just kind of keeping to myself, and a big jolly old guy comes up to me and says, "My name's Jimmy. What's your name?" I felt like Forrest Gump on the bus where his Bubba comes over and starts talking to him. And y'all wouldn't believe this, but Jimmy's very personable and likes to talk. And literally, so we ended up talking, and we were both there for this award, and we both had home service companies. By that point, both the companies had kind of been growing. DFW is a big place. I had seen Baker Brothers and heard them on the radio, seen their trucks running around. And we live off in this little tiny area in DFW, the smallest county in Texas. Yeah. And we lived in the smallest city in that county. Yeah. And we start talking, and he's like, "Where do you live?" I was like, "You probably wouldn't know. I live out in like this Rockwall Heath area." He goes, and he's like, "That's where I live." I go, "Shut up." He goes, "No, it's where I live." And it comes out, we live like about a mile from each other. And
we went to Choloso. Like, remember you go, hey, let's go to breakfast. I think there's some stuff that I think there's some. So at this time, guys, Gus is just doing electric.
Yeah.
I'm just doing plumbing.
Yeah.
And so it was like, hey, let's go and talk. And we went to Choloso, which is funny. We both knew where that was. But anyway, we go meet there. And I think, Gus, you were doing some like, you were thinking about doing radio and TV and stuff. And I was doing radio. And at that point, you were doing some stuff online. And this was like back when the Yellow Pages was still a thing.
Like
I mean,
06, 07.
Yeah. So it was still, Yellow Pages was still, because I remember you told me, you're like, dude, how many Yellow Pages are you in? And I go, I'm in 3. And you're like, oh my God, I'm in like 45 or something. And I was like, I remember the conversations, but you were talking about, it's funny, the pay-per-click deal and basically SEO and things, and hey, that's really, doing something. So, and that's kind of interesting too, because I feel like that, and this is probably another conversation too, that I feel like we're on this cusp of that marketing change. Yeah. We're right there where I think there's about to be a big flip in the way we market. And because, man, PPC is just so expensive that I don't even know if it's viable at any level. I mean, I think, some of the like our kind of companies do it just to go, well, hey, we'll just power down on you and we're just going to outbuy you or something. But at the end of the day, man, I just don't know how much is coming off of it.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one.
But go back to Choloso, and just encourage people out there. I didn't know really Jimmy, and Jimmy had the business longer, and the business was bigger, and he took me under his wing, so to speak, and taught me so many things about marketing and the way they thought about it, and this, that, and the other. And I had some stuff to share, obviously. But Jimmy was great, and I would just when you talk about Kingdom Method, I feel bad for the business owners that are on an island that they feel like it's them against everybody. Jimmy and I were in the same industry. We weren't directly competing then, but it wasn't soon after that we were direct competitors. Yeah. And we never stopped sharing information with each other. And I liked seeing him succeed just as much. And you can do that if your business isn't your idol. Yeah. If your business is your idol, which means I think you provide for me and you're the most important thing in my life, then it's a hard time. It's a hard thing to share, to see that. If you can live in the mindset, this is all God's, he built it, he can take it. And what I would tell you is Jimmy and I would both say independently, because of that, both of our companies ended up being very successful. Yeah. Because we just leaned into, maybe this is a person that God put in my life, and I'm just going to lean into that relationship. And we talked like every day. And it was funny. Gus wasn't married at the time. But Amanda was his fiance. And I remember we were at 24 Hour Fitness. We started working out together, and we walk in, he goes, oh, hey, let me introduce. And so Gus is always traditionally, I didn't know how old Gus was. Like, I thought Gus was like late 20s, maybe 30s, A trades company makes you look older. It's very stressful.
Well, then Amanda comes popping up, and she looks like she's 16. And he goes, hey, this is my fiance, Amanda. And I'm kind of going, and after she left, I kind of go, dude, kind of robbing the cradle arch there, buddy. And he goes, well, yeah. And so when you're young, you think like 3 or 4 years older is like a big chasm, but it was funny. And then later on, I'm like, Gus is like, hey, I'm 23 or something. I'm like, geez. Well, okay, that makes sense. But what was funny is how I'll never forget. It was back in the 2007, 2008, right when all the recession stuff happened. Probably 9 was when it really hit hard. And I remember going, hey, Gus, man, there's this house for sale. It's really awesome in our neighborhood. It like right down the street. And they were short selling it because the guy had to leave and lost his job. But they went there and bought. So it was funny. We actually lived in the same neighborhood forever and ever and ever.
On the same street. And that's just another, if you'll just lean into the relationships that God puts in your life, you'll find that so many things spin out of that. That particular house Jimmy told us about, we went and prayed over it. We actually did like the Jericho thing. We walked around it, and we really wanted it. And we didn't have that much money. And it was $295,000, and we were going to have to put 3% down. So it's like $8,500. And I was like, I think we can do. I mean, it was like mind blowing. And this is such a cool story. We went up to they called us and told us we got the house, short sale. And we went up and to the closing company. And the person, we signed our stuff, and the person came out and said, hey, I just wanted to meet y'all. And we were like, okay, why? And they're like, God told us that this house was supposed to be for y'all's names. And he goes, I can't ever tell anyone this. I got so many other phone calls after I told y'all could have it. But I just never returned their phone calls because God told me it was supposed to be for y'all. And it was a short sale. And it just, how awesome.
That's
like,
crazy.
If you couldn't control meeting you, couldn't control that house came available, couldn't control that. I mean, it's just when you're in kind of that whole thing, God just
we've had so many, it's so funny how many people that we've like connected together and like, you know, I remember like, you know, for Vital, like Josh Moran and, you know, Jeff Light, like I was friends with Jeff Light, and then Josh was doing our stuff because you're like, hey, Josh is good at this. So I had him doing our pay-per-click. And then Josh was like, I don't want any employees. I want to start a church. And then I was like, hey, this guy, he's really good at what he does. And we got them together. And then, you know, like Pastor Steve, I remember I told you, I was like, dude, I know Gus didn't go to my church. And I just go, Gus, look, my pastor does this business talk on 360 leadership. Guys, let me just tell you something. We may overrun poor Pastor Steve. I mean, he's kind of retired now, but he goes and does these talks and does some, you know, coaching. I'm going to tell you guys, he is probably one of the best out there. So it's kind of weird to go and say, hey, my pastor's probably one of the best leadership talks I've ever heard. And then Gus goes and he talks to him. Gus gets a relationship. He becomes
I was just more screwed up than Jimmy because I met him and I was like, oh, I'm all in. Like, I need all of your time, all of your coaching, whatever someone else pays, I'll just double it. Don't spend any time with anyone else. And that was, you know, like 15, 20, a long time ago. And now to this day, still very involved with Pastor Steve. He helps at our business, consultant, mentors people. And so it all came out of just relationship.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Here it is.
I love my church.
I love my church, Lake Point, guys. So, hey, if y'all can't.
Now, Jimmy only does this podcast because our pastor, Josh, does a podcast. That's probably so it's all connected.
I did. It did come out of that. I really did. We went on a fishing trip thing that they'd put together. And I noticed that all these guys are telling stories on this campfire, and my little ADHD brain like linked all 3 nights together. And I said, well, what? There was a commonality here. Man, we had these great success stories. Everyone there was successful in one way or another. And I said, man, but no one really talked about using and leveraging their skills and talents for kingdom success, like, you know, for something of the kingdom. And I was like, you know, I think we do it every day. And that's kind of what we're talking, you know, is about, hey, man, daily doing it. And I think I want to be really clear here. I do not think it's okay to go and beat your employee's head in with the Bible. I don't think it's okay to stand up there and preach to them and stand up there and try to change their opinion. I think it's okay when they ask you to tell them what you know. I think it's okay to live a life that is clean, where they go, dude, something's different about that guy. He does what he says he's going to do when he says he's going to do it. And most people don't. And when you start doing things where people notice, they go, hey, what do you have? Like, I think the biggest ever compliment I ever have is that I don't talk about church at work, and someone comes to you, go, what church do you go to? Because that means that I'm living out a life that at least they go, hey, look, this guy has something that most people don't. And what is it? And I said, and I think the other part is just to be, I think a big mistake everybody makes is to be irreverent. To be irreverent to other people's beliefs and their system of belief. I'll never change anybody's mind about their belief system by like arguing it. But I will change their mind on where I go, dude, this guy unconditionally loves me for some reason. I don't even know why. What is this? And so I think that's kind of something for us that I go, we really got to put out there to our people, and like where they want to do stuff for the community. Where, like, man, we used to raise like 3,500 cans of food. And I think people used to think that I used to go buy like a truckload of food. I go, no, dude, I give cash. I on purpose gave cash. And we would do something with the techs, our tech meeting, go, hey guys, just bring us some cans of food for here. We're gonna do this for 6 weeks, and just bring the cans up here. We're gonna go give them down the street to this Dallas Life that's like a homeless shelter. And man, we'd bring them 3,500 cans in a year. And it's just nuts that we would do those little things. And then guys start doing stuff like, hey, man, I'm at this old lady's house. She's like 90 years old, man. She doesn't have any money. She really needs a wheelchair accessible shower. Man, can I work on my off hours? Like, guys doing that, you're like, okay, that's freaking awesome. But for them to call in their manager, go, no, we're taking care of it without even asking anybody above them. Going, we're taking care of that. We're going to call the tile guy. They call them, the guys that we buy stuff from. Jeff Joyner over at National at Supply, and Jeff was just like, dude, we're gonna take care of all the fixtures. So it's this thing that just kind of, I think, if you can create that kind of culture in the business, I think that's what the coolest thing is, just to see God work in the business. And I know you've got some good story. I mean, I know y'all do a lot of stuff that really impacts your guys.
We try to, for anyone that's out there that's faith-based, I just encourage them. I tell our team members, it's part of our hiring process. Hey, the owners of this company, the founders, they're faith-based, so they just make decisions by the Bible. So if that's going to really offend you, I want you to know that no one ever is like, oh, I hate that idea, right? No one ever is like, hey, the golden rule is treat other people as you want done under you. It's a second, kind of commandment. No one says, well, I don't want that from my employer. That would be horrible, right?
Nobody ever, so no one ever says pray that. For you? Do they ever say no?
No. And so one of the things that I tell people is I'm not asking you to change because you work here. Whatever that means for you, I'm not asking you to change, but you also aren't going to ask me to change.
Yeah.
And there's one of us that I know isn't leaving this company, and it's me. And so what does that mean is, man, I try to make every decision by this book right here because I actually don't think I have that many good ideas. I actually think that the Holy Spirit does, and I actually think that God has favor, and I actually think I lean into that. So that means I pray. Like at our company meetings, I pray. So if that's hugely offended to you, I'm not trying to offend you. I just want to be the same person everywhere. I want to be the same person at church that I am at home, that I am at business. And does that always happen? Absolutely not, especially not on the golf course.
That's what.
That's its own category.
Let's just pretend the Christmas party doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's right. And so, but I think that's, when it comes to faith and business, it's just, I tell our leaders, I go, if you went and got a job anywhere else, you should be doing the exact same thing there as you would here. What does that mean is when someone's in your office and they're telling you they have a problem, talk to them and then say, part of what I do is I try to pray for people. Do you mind if I pray for you? You should do that here. You should do that there. And if you work somewhere where they absolutely won't let you do that, I bet you can go get on your hands and knees and pray. And I bet God will open that door for you to be somewhere like that. And so, we try to do all the same stuff. Faith-based businesses don't have a corner on ideas. It's kind of all plagiarized, kind of out of the Bible.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like we're all trying to do the same thing. If we're all reading the same thing, a lot of it should look really similar.
Yeah.
And so we do the same stuff. Like our culture is just take care of it.
Yeah.
You got someone in need, take care of it. Hire a new person. We're going to send Bibles home to their family.
It's y'all's core values.
Yeah. Ours is faith, family, and excellence. What I did was core values thing kind of bothers me. That's a hot topic for me no one send me an email on this because I think what you're doing is probably great. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's, I see companies where it says honesty, integrity, so on. I'm like, so we have to sit around and be like, okay, let's be honest today, guys. Like, what is the alternative? What was everyone else going to do? We didn't talk about that. So we had a business for about 10 years. I just never had them. And then felt like I went to a conference and some visionary, and I think it's good, whatever. They said you need to have values.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So I just sent out a thing, like a little word cloud thing. I said, what do you think this place means?
Yeah.
And the 3 big bubbles was faith, family, and excellence.
That's
so
awesome.
That's just our values.
What's funny is when you said integrity, I used to joke around this one guy. That was one of their core values, and they were not very. It was so. They were so in the gray, and I just go. I think they spell theirs integrity. It's kind of like when you go to the flea market, and they have the Tommy Hilfiger. It's not the Tommy Hilfiger, the Rolex. But anyway, hey, let's talk about the KPIs. So you said you had some hot sports opinion about that, and I do too. But what do you?
Well, you gave me one of them, and it always stuck with me. I've never forgot it, and I encourage this. I like numbers. I love data. As Josh Howard said, I've accepted Excel into my heart. Like, I love it. I love all of it. I love dashboards. I love KPIs. And this was about the time technology kind of started being involved in the trades. And you could, like, right at the beginning where you could put like TVs and dashboards up and all this stuff. And I had all this stuff, and we were in this new fancy building, and Jimmy came over and was kind of walking around, and he had told me a story about what he told someone at his office. And we had all these KPIs. I mean, and it was a lot of information. And Jimmy said, and you were nice about it. You said, I told one of our guys, just change that number to something it's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like if it was like this week's number was 100, this week's 101, 99, it's like all in a range. He said, just put 1,080 on there. And I was like, okay. He goes, and change it and see if anyone ever comes and says anything. And I was like, dang it. And I didn't even have to do it because I spent time obsessing about getting the information up there.
Yeah.
Making sure it all worked, making sure it was all updated. And there wasn't a person in that whole building that gave a flying crap except me. Right. And I spent all of that time looking at the data.
Yeah.
But then didn't do as much time. And so one of my hacks is this, and it's specific for this time right now. And this is for any leader that does in any business, is we call it frontline obsession.
Yep.
Is just being obsessed with the frontline people. And so what does that mean? It's what I'm encouraging people to do right now with AI is if I tell you, hey, Jimmy, there's this new AI product, go, oh, okay. And do you know what you should go do? Go do a ride along.
Go do a ride along.
Don't listen to anything else I say. If I tell you, hey, I heard this AI thing, you should go, oh, that's great. Okay. Go listen to a call in your call center. Go sit. Every time you think about one of these AI things, just go substitute the time you would spend thinking about that and go get with your frontline team members. The dividends that pays, the AI thing is going to happen. Like your vendors and all that are going to put it. I'm not saying we should stick our head in the sand. We shouldn't implement it. But now what I see is the leader, the new shiny thing that they justify not finding out what's going on the front line is AI. Because society is telling them, if you're not doing this and you're not keeping up with it, you're falling behind. So they're like, I can't go talk to that tech. I can't go to that tech meeting. I can't go do a leadership thing with our thing. So I have some other hot stuff, but
that was something that Bill Weaver, that used to be at Certain Path. I think he was at Nexstar for a little bit too after that. But Bill used to be the guy that goes in ARS and, hey, go save this one. It's bad. Go manage and move to San Antonio and save it. And he told me the first thing that I do is that I go in there and remove anything that doesn't support the call center or the technician.
Yeah.
Any person, any positions that do not support those two things, I get rid of, which is exactly what you're saying about being frontline obsessed. Another funny story is when I was telling Gus that, I went back to our office and I told the guy who made all the spreadsheets and put all of them up, I said, nobody looks at this. I don't think anybody looks at it. He goes, yes, they do. And I go, I don't think they do. And he goes, no, it's the way they get paid. They for sure look at it. And it was true. It was how they got paid. And they literally did not look at it. I go, they just don't. I go, he goes, well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree. I go, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to test it. I said, we're going to put on there, come see Doug or Jimmy,
right?
And we'll give you $20 for lunch. All you do is if you read this, come see Doug or Jimmy, and we'll give you $20 for lunch. It was 3 weeks before the first guy came up and goes, hey, can I get that $20? I said, I'm going to give you the $20, but hey, you don't tell anybody. It was another 6 weeks before the next person come up. And then, so I think that's things that we have to do. One, pay attention. Like what was funny is we had a bunch of screens and stuff at our shop. You know what everybody looked at? There was a little tiny board that someone put up. When they put it up, it's like, why did they put a little crappy whiteboard up? Well, they wrote the top 10 plumbers for the quarter, like their dollar amounts up there. And dude, those guys would look and argue about that and talk about it. They go, well, Gus, man, you used to be number 3. Now you're number 9. What's up, dude? They would talk to each other, and you could see them watching, gather around, talking about it. So just, kind of pay attention. But I think a big issue now is just so much data. That what I see is, as I was at Wrench and everything else and seeing all these presidents, there were so many presidents that were just going down the rabbit hole. I mean, they like all day. Like they would just go down that rabbit hole. We had Domo and all this other stuff. We're Power BI. We're throwing all these numbers together. Dude, they're flying down the rabbit hole. And so there was a point in time that I said, hey, look, we need to get this under control here. And I think that keep it simple, stupid thing has always been my thing. Like, hey, we got to keep this simple. I said, so here's what we're going to do. Let's do this. Let's talk about the things, what things that we look at, guys, do we take action?
Yeah.
So this number goes up or down, and then we do something, or we tell someone to do something, or we create something. But if something happens to that number, then we know something's wrong. And to the point of like, and I think I talked about this on our huddles and stuff. I want to know book calls per trade.
Yep.
I want to know what our sales were month to date.
Yep.
And I want to know, hey, do we need people? Like, do we need people or have too many? What's going on there? That was kind of the three main things as the president of a $100-something million business.
Yep.
That's what I cared about, were those three things every day. And I could tell you on Tuesday morning when they gave me that number, if plumbing was going to have a hard time that week, or if electrical was going to have a hard time, I could tell. I would go, because as soon as you told me the number, I went, okay, so what promotions are we running in plumbing? What are we running? Where are we running? TV ads? Are we running radio? Or are we running? What are we spending pay per click? How are we closing the call center? So that one number led to all these activities where at a point we literally at Baker Brothers knew that WFA had dropped. They had dropped in ratings.
Yep.
And we knew because we could see the results we were getting were off compared to what they had been.
Yep.
And so I was already like, yeah, we already knew that when they came and told us. But that's the thing that what you have to focus on. Like I was telling somebody, dude, average ticket's important.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain things that are really important, but there are other things that we just boggle our own minds with. And I'll tell a Kevin story. Like, you know, Kevin Comerford.
Yeah.
We're on a call and Kevin, we're talking about our dial pad numbers, which is like, hey, abandon rate, how many did you answer, all this stuff. And Kevin's over there apologizing like, man, guys, I'm so sorry, man, my numbers are so bad. I can't believe this, man. Look, I'm going to do something. I'm going to pick it up. And he was just distraught about it. So I call Kevin and I forgot to ask him something. And I call Kevin. I go, hey, Kevin, man, I forgot to ask you this. I go, man, how things going? He goes, dude, man, we had the best month we've ever had in the history of the company. Yeah. He goes, they beat their top line goal by like $3.5 million. Like they did some crazy, like $8 million to $12 million, something crazy.
Yeah.
And I was laughing. I go, well, Kevin, if you're saying that, doesn't that mean all the metrics that you were just apologizing for have no relationship to your success?
Yeah.
And he goes, what? I go, well, I mean, you were just apologizing for that. Does that not
I've seen it
connect?
And I'm not saying we get this all right. I've seen it with several of the leaders that I really respect. And you'll go learn about their business or visit it, and you'll be there with like a peer group. And all types of businesses, churches even included. And that leader will know there's 3 or 4 things that he cares about.
Yep.
And he hawks them and he knows them backwards and forwards. And then there's someone remember, we're going to see this person, this church, this business, whatever it is, because they obviously were going there because they do something really well.
Yeah,
we're all kind of amazed at the result. And there's always someone in the group that's like, well, have you ever thought about if da-da-da-da? And the leader will be like, yeah, we just don't worry about that. And the person, like you'll hear him in the park, oh, I just can't believe da-da-da-da-da-da. And you kind of want to be like, you understand that you're here and they're not at your thing for a reason, right? But I know you've seen it. And it's like some of the people are just, some of my favorite leaders are so simple, so just, yep. And then the other things, like they'll go, well, have you ever thought about if you did this and you didn't do this, then it would do that? And be like, they'll go, yeah, I mean, that's a thought. It's like, they'll be like, but you could do it. And they'll be like, yeah, that's probably right. And then they're like, you can tell they're not going to change.
Yeah.
Because they do what they do. They produce they know who they are. They're comfortable with it. And,
yeah, I mean, you're not going to catch everything and be perfect, you know, and that's what I think a lot of people try to do. I mean, that was one of my favorite quotes was the, you know, Lombardi quote that says, hey, in the pursuit of perfection, we achieve excellence. Yeah. Saying perfection is not achievable.
That's right.
But we will be excellent. And so I forgot the other one I did too was Pulse M. So I always looked at Pulse M and I always looked at the red number, which was the number of 6 or less that we got scored, because that was the rah-rah-ree driver. And I think what was the best thing about my retiring or leaving as president of Baker Brothers was when I walked out the door, we had achieved the whole month. We had achieved the lowest red percent ever.
That's
we were
awesome.
like 1.2%. And
awesome.
I go, dude, this is the best that you guys have ever done, man. Please keep this up.
You walked off after winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I just dropped the mic. But it was, but that was important to us because for me, what our customers thought and felt was the most important thing. I go, our thing was to be the greatest service company in the world behind Milestone. No, I'm just kidding. But that was our theme. And man, our BHAG, and we talked about it all the time. We talked about it in meetings. We brought it up and said, well, is that the best?
Yeah.
Like we would literally say that. Like we go, hey, we're going to do this and try to help customer service and blah, 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 blah. And I go, okay, well, if somebody answered live, wouldn't that be the best?
Yeah.
And they would go, well, yeah, but we can't. And I go, can't we?
Yeah.
I mean, really? I mean, what if we had, to me, I feel customer service is so important.
Yeah.
I'll hire 3 people. Hopefully I won't have to hire 3 people because we're not that messed up.
Yeah.
But I said, I will hire 3 people and that's all they'll do is sit here and make it to where only they work themselves out of a job.
Yeah.
I said, but they had the whole power to do we only had 1 lady. And she got ultimate supreme power to do whatever she wanted to make that customer happy. Yeah. There was no $250 limit, $10,000 limit. If she was on there and somebody called in and they said, I have a $15,000 unit and I don't like it and y'all need to, y'all should not, I go, then give them their money back. And all the managers, well, guess what? We're dying. Oh my gosh, what happens, man? The refunds are going to be out of blah, blah, blah.
Well, then don't screw it up.
What was funny is exactly. Don't have caller.
Yeah.
But what was funny is the refunds actually went down.
Yeah.
Because the managers got them out of their way. Oh, $50 off or whatever, and they get them off the phone. And she was genuinely trying to show, hey, we really care about you as a customer. And I said, we used to like do the thing where, you get the email if there's a bad one. I go, what if we called them within 10 minutes of them filling that out? I go, would that be special? And people are like, well, yeah. I go, have you ever filled out a survey and put a bad thing on there? And they go, Mr. Antos, hey, can you do that? And so I think you getting a vision. I think whatever your vision is and whatever your key things are, like mine can be whatever they want to be, booked calls and month to date sales and those things. But I think it's just whatever you think is important because, like you said, those different. If you went to 2 big churches, for instance, or whatever, and they had 2 ways that I bet you they had 2 different things they both looked at as what success was. Like Pastor Steve actually, counted the cars in the parking lot. How many open spaces were there and things like that to make sure that they had availability. If anybody wanted to come, they could. And what was funny is when Josh came in and it kind of started really going good, he literally got on there. And Melinda and I we do online a lot in church, so we're terrible. And so we're talking about how terrible we are about when we're watching. I go, well, we're watching it. We're there. It's such a big church. I go, and I'm over there making my case for sitting around in my PJs watching church. And
you gave somebody else a parking spot.
And literally Steve gets over there and goes, guys, literally right before this thing, I drove around. There were only 3 parking spots left.
Yeah.
And he goes, you know the drill. Go over here and park over at this deal and we'll bus you over and blah, blah, blah. And hey, man, we just got to do it. We're going to grow in church. And people literally come in the parking lot and they won't come in the doors. Like it literally could be somebody who has a chance of hearing God's word, not to hear it because of that space. And I was like, I looked over at Melinda and I said, honey, had we gone today, there would only be 2 spots. We probably indirectly witnessed to someone and saved them somehow. I don't know.
That's one of my favorite, Pastor Steve, and I think I've heard Pastor Josh say it, but say something controversial, and then they'll go, and if you don't like it, honestly, there's a lot of other churches, and we need your parking spot.
Well, I think that's a good one too for the business too. It's like I don't like the way y'all do things at Baker Brothers. Like, well, man, I don't know what we're gonna do without you, but tomorrow we'll find out. I go, go somewhere else. I go. So I think that's what I decided my retirement plan was going to be. I don't think truly retiring is ever a really good idea. Because we always around when you go out in the field. The retired guys are just right behind you. And they'll all tell you from the VP at Coke to the guy that was postman, dude, after 3 years of doing whatever I want to do, fish, travel my RV, play golf, they're like, dude, now I'm just sitting around waiting for the grandkids.
You're leaving Baker Brothers has been pretty depressing for me. I'd always look forward to you leaving because I was like, it's going to be so great. Jimmy's going to be gone. I'm going to get all of his team members, all of his customers. We're going to double. This is going to be great. And now Bubba does such a good job. Like now it's just so now I've got to wait for Bubba to be gone. And hopefully,
I think that might be
Baker Brothers, great company. And honestly, and people whether you hear this or not, but you think about a dynasty or something like that. There's always another company or team that you were competing against. And Baker Brothers in our market, we knew all this stuff, that the level of excellence. And in the back of your head, I've never cared about being rich. I cared about winning.
Yeah.
It just so happens in our world that when we do that, we make money. And then fortunately for guys like us then we get to get the money and give it to the kingdom and stuff like that. But it's always been, the driver's always been winning. It hasn't ever been like, I've never had a big month or quarter and been like, oh, now we have this money, I could go do X, Y, Z. It's always been, well, how are we going to continue to grow and do what we're going to do next? And people are like, when is enough enough? I go, I guess when everyone stops going to hell.
Yeah.
I guess that's what, in my world, because that's what we do, is we work businesses and we try to provide. When there's no more people going to hell, I guess I'm going to be like, I guess I'm done.
Well, speaking,
that doesn't mean you don't sell your company and move on to the next thing or anything. I mean,
well, I was going to talk, speaking of talking about that's what you guys that, if you're listening to this, I'd highly encourage you to listen to Live Free at Lake Point. They literally they have this great thing. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it. And it's really talking about hell, you know, and that, I mean, I'll be honest. I think if you're any Christian person, it'll change your perspective on some things, like not like the way you would think, but it makes you think and makes you ponder and go, hey, what, man, dude, am I doing everything I can?
Yeah.
And you go, and like I said, to the point of not being where I'm irreverent to other people and their belief system or whatever, but I still need to be there and make myself available.
I don't know. I had like 3 or 4 people text me, as Pastor Josh did that one on hell in the last week, and 3 or 4 people texted me. And I'd gotten in this thing over the last year. If I go to lunch or something like that, and I'm not saying it's every time, but the waiter or waitress, we end up talking. At the end, I'll say, can I ask you a question? They'll say, sure. I go, I think about what's going to happen when I die. Do you ever think about that? And people at the table will lose their mind. They're like, why would you ask that? I go, it dawned on me that, and I'll just say, like, what if I'm the only person that was going to tell that? And they're like, but you could offend them. I go, I don't care. A lot of people already don't like me, or I don't even know. I don't care. And it's something that we do at our company meetings. At the end of every single thing, I go, this is the part where I'm going to annoy you guys. If you haven't thought about what happens when you die, and you listen to nothing else we talked about today, I want you to think about that. And if you have questions, come talk to me. There's another guy named here, Mason Randall, that he will talk about it. But this is real. And so that's kind of where we leave it. But I'm not saying I'm doing. I don't think I'm doing enough.
You need to be bold.
I don't think I'm doing enough.
Yeah, but you need to be bold. And what I said, I think I'm saying is not to be. It's not to be wimpy and whatever, but it's to make yourself available.
Yeah.
And even asking that question, did you ever? If I had a belief system and say I'm Jewish, and you asked me that question, I'd be like, yeah, I know exactly what's going to happen to me. And I mean that, but that's what I was saying is like I think it's just making yourself available to that conversation.
Yeah,
making yourself out
100%.
there. And you know what's funny that I did that was really goofy, stupid. Have you seen those little rubber Jesuses?
Yeah.
You can buy them. You can buy them on Amazon. I would just leave the little rubber Jesus on the check, and I would just leave it in weird places. And what's funny about it is there's this. I mean, it's just like anything you think is like this is stupid or whatever. It's funny how there's this weird result. Yeah. And I had like one of our good friends. Their son had like had some problems. And he was, kind of fighting this illness and basically was holding on to that little Jesus that I gave her. She came out, I was going, here, take this. And she gave it to him. And then he held on to it. And then he went to this facility and gave it to another girl at that facility and gave it up to her. Yeah. And she was like, hey, do you have any more? And I go, yeah, dude, I got plenty more. So
I think it's awesome what you're doing here, calling it Kingdom Method, talking about those things, because it's one of the things that I'll never do it, but I want to write like a little, not book, but maybe something called What If the Bible's Actually True? Yeah. Like even for us Christians, like what if everything in here is real? What if none of this actually matters? What if it's all going to burn up and be made new? What if that where he said, don't worry about tomorrow, enough has it. What if all that's like really, and what if there's a heaven and a hell, and once you die, you're in one of those things. If we live that way, in my journal it says my problem is I don't actually believe all of the Bible. And that's like for me, I would never say that, but it is. It's like if I actually believe that, then do some of my actions. And so Steve Stroop, we've mentioned his name 2 or 3 times. He does it way better. If you go to lunch with him, he's like nice, and now he's older, and
old people can say whatever they want.
Yeah, he can. I mean. he'll just say he'll order, and then he'll say, "Hey, when you walk off, we're going to bless our food. Is there anything we can pray for you or your family about?" Like, that's a lot better than if you die, you're going to hell right now.
Yeah. Hey, did you ever think about burning in hell forever?
Yeah.
Like how long that would be?
And then I'll have some more Diet Coke.
Yeah, you can get some special Diet Coke. I'll tell you that every now and again.
But no, I think it's good what you're doing. I love it, and.
Well, it was your idea, so all I did was I just stole your idea.
Yeah, well,
and
you'd be way better at it.
But hey, if we can, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here, and surely get Gus back again. But yeah, I just please, guys, share this, put some comments in. I want to tell you, like, it's hard for us to get this out.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go seek it out to get.
Tell them what you were telling me about.
Yeah, literally.
Well, maybe if you say that, then they're going to really ban it.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, we got kind of kicked out of like putting out. Like I try to advertise it and get it out to everybody, and they actually kicked us out and like wouldn't allow us to spend the money because it's a religious content or something like that. And I was like. I just can't imagine that's really a thing, but I'll have Kelly Shackelford from give him a shout from First Liberty and see what they think about it. Okay, I might be Kelly's new poster boy. Right. You never know. But I hope to have him on there. That's going to be a really cool one. I hope to get him on there, one of his guys, just so they can kind of tell us like, hey, what are some things that we need to be careful of when we're doing this, and what are some things that are completely okay that we have no idea that are okay. And so I think that's going to be important. So you guys, like, if y'all could just tell us in the comments things you want to know about. We'll definitely get Gus back in here and just stuff, anything about business. Like, hey, what business things do you guys struggle with? Like, what are some things that you need help? You need help with at your business, because see, the better that you can make your business, the better that you can serve your employees. Yeah. The better the more consistent and the more secure that you can make your business, the more job security your employees have and their families, because that's kind of what this is all about. Every success, like, we'll do the definition of success next time, but definitely, dude, think about that. Like, everything that I do, every decision I make, everything I don't execute that I don't need to, it's not just about me and my bank account. Yep. It's about all these families that support, that hopefully all their jobs won't be taken by AI. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. We appreciate it.
And before we sign off, if anyone's still listening, with all the junk that's out there, I just encourage you guys to listen to this thing, because I think that just what we input into our soul and into our mind is ultimately what's going to grow. And so there's so much other junk out there. And Jimmy and the guest are talking about important things, kingdom-minded. And so kudos to you. I would love to come back. It's actually a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now I know why everyone has podcasts.
Yeah, that's not so bad. You can
just talk about stuff, and no one can argue with us. Yes. You just say stuff, and you're like, that sounds good to me. Sounds good to you.
Put it out there.
And then if anyone comments, I'm like, I just won't see that. I don't know.
I don't even know.
You're probably right. Hope you're going to heaven.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you next time.
All right, see ya.